There are a few things that you can do to get a better return on your time on a website than creating a pop-up. Simply put, a pop-up puts the attention in one place, and if you have an offer, especially if you're trying to capture an email or something like that, it's as good as gold. Now, in the past, it's been a little clunky. I think personally I used to use Bricks Extra and whatnot, but it's gotten a ton better. And honestly, just right in native Bricks, it's super easy. So let's head to the thing. And here I have literally spent a total of about 25 seconds. I pasted in a Bricks bit and made a simple header. That's all that's going on here. What we're going to do is when somebody clicks find out more, we're going to want a pop-up. All right. So when we get started, we don't actually start on the page we want the pop-up. The first thing we're going to do is head over to the dashboard, go to Bricks Templates, click Add a New Template, and we will call this Homepage Pop-Up, whatever. And we're going to tell it that it is, in fact, a pop-up, and that's kind of what's important here, right? So we will go ahead and press Publish, and then click Edit. And now you can see how this is actually imitating the pop-up. It's right in the middle of the page. It's going to have its own elements thing, but it's going to be very obvious to you that this is in fact a pop-up. So let's go ahead and add a section. So let's go ahead and add a header. And we will put some basic text. And I tell you what, let's put a form in. Okay. And in this form, let's just take out the name and the message. We'll just leave the email. So now we have our basic stuff, and let's just give this a header. Here is an offer. I'll just quickly type something here. Okay, so I have some basic nonsense in there. It's good enough for now. Honestly, you know how to make a page. There's nothing special about that. But there is some things that are kind of special here. So the first thing we're going to do is not actually edit the section. And that is kind of a little counterintuitive, but you have to remember this is a template. And as such, all the settings are under the template settings. So let's go up here and go Manage. Go to Template Settings and go to Pop-Up because this is a pop-up, And here you can see you have padding, you have align your main axis. So you could have it at the top or the middle or the bottom. Same is true with left, right, center. Pretty basic, It closes on, either the backdrop, which is someone clicks over here, or the escape key, or both. It's best to leave both unless you're really trying to piss people off. You also have a Z-index that you can set, and that's really good if you have a lot of layers on your page, so you can really make sure it's in front of, although I think it defaults, 10,000, you should be good, but still, and then, there's other settings here, most of which are probably not going to be too important to you. The one that I do think is important, though, is the breakpoints. This is, really cool if you don't want that pop-up to display at a certain breakpoint, but you do want it at other breakpoints. And, you can say a start display at, or you can say display on breakpoints, and then you can go ahead and choose which breakpoints you want it to display on. For now, we're just going to leave it on everything. Now, for the backdrop, this one's kind of important. In fact, it's really important. Let me just fix one thing here. There, we'll put it in the middle. Okay, and in fact, we'll just set it to default because it defaults to the middle. Now, as I was saying, the backdrop, you can disable it, which gives you no tinting, no masking, but you can also set your color, and that's really cool because, let's say if you wanted a solid color where, hey, they have to see this. Now, the nice thing is you can also use transparent colors. So here I'm using Brick Styler, and as you can see, it includes some transparency. So, you can use those transparencies to really customize the look here. But we're gonna just go ahead and leave it as the default, which is kind of a darker gray, and that's kind of cool. And then the next is obviously, your typical content thing, one of which is width. Now, personally, I like to use, like, say, 60 VW, which is view width, and that gives me 65, percent of the view width. But if you have a specific image and you're trying to really get things tight in here, you could totally use rem. So you could say, 30 rem if you wanted it to be very, very small. But, you get right in there and precise. So let's just go 65 VW. And there we go. We have our offer. Again, you could do the min width and the max width, and that's all very cool. Another great thing here is the border. So, I'm using Brick Styler, so I can just go in and say, okay, well, I want a radius of XL, and we'll do that all the way around. And now our pop-up has that really nice rounded border. And that's always very cool. And then, of course, the box shadow, which, this one is dependent on what your backdrop is going to look like. But, if you want to use that, that's there. And you could just go ahead and let's grab, I don't know, trans. And now you can see you've got that nice deep, look at me, I'm popping off the page, So let's go ahead and leave it like that. And the last thing I want to show you about the pop-up is how to limit how many times your pop-up's going to show up. Here under your pop-up limit, you can say how many times is it going to load on a page load, or how many times per session or across session. So, how many, if somebody comes to your site 5 times, do you want it popping up every single time? It'll piss people off. So you probably don't. And then you could kind of say, okay, well, I'll let them only see it once today, but hey, in 24 hours, that son of a bitch is resetting, So that's some really great control because you don't want to overuse pop-ups. So there we go. Now our pop-up is designed. When we've seen what we can do, let's go ahead and link it up. Oh, one last thing we're going to do here. Let's go ahead and enter in a basic text. And on this basic text, we will say, close. Now, you could use a button or you could use an X or an icon, whatever. It doesn't matter. But I'm just trying to show you. So a link to, you are going to, doesn't really matter. So what I like to do is I go custom URL and I just put a hashtag. Why? Because that's the fastest way to make a link. And you could tell it about the pointer and all that. But anyhow, we're going to create an interaction. We are going to add a trigger on click, and the action is hide element, and the target is a pop-up. And which pop-up? Well, it's the pop-up we're just making. It's the homepage pop-up, all right? And we will go ahead and save that. So now we're done with the pop-up. Let's go ahead and close that and save that. We'll go back to the home page and say edit with bricks. And now we're going to create to trigger off that pop-up. So what we're going to do is click on the button that we want. Once again, I'm just going to make a custom URL and make that a hashtag so that it's going to act like a button. There's better ways to do it, but that's a shortcut. And what we're going to do is create an interaction. We're going to add an interaction. The trigger is click. The action is show element. And the target is the pop-up. Just like we had the hide element, now we're showing this element, all right? And then which pop-up? The homepage pop-up. And then you could do it as a post, and honestly, just no, I'd never use that. Anyway, so there you go. And we'll save that. So here we are on the front end. We put our mouse over. We see it turns into a little hand because we did the hashtag trick and we clicked the link. Nothing. What happened? Well, we didn't set the condition. Just like every other template, you got to set your conditions. So let's go back to the pop-up. And under here, we're going to click conditions. We're going to add a condition and choose entire website, or, we could do front page because we're just using the front page, or you could say which individual pages you want it available on. We're going to add it to the entire website. So it's there, it's ready. It is better to specify the pages so that you're not, behind loading this. But it's fine. And that's it. So now it's available on the entire site. We'll save that. We'll go back and refresh this. And now you see it didn't load automatically. A lot of people think, if I include it, it's going to load. No, it doesn't mean that it's going to show it. It's just available. And now when we click the thing, boom, there's our pop-up, okay? And testing the close works too. How nifty. So we're good to go, except for, what about the times when you do want it to load without clicking a button? Maybe you want to delay it. If somebody's come to your page, a lot of times what you'll do is like little down the page as somebody scrolls, it's like, hey, this person's interested. Boom, hit them with a pop-up, right? So let's look how to do that. Well, luckily it's really easy. And all you're going to have to do is come here and you can grab kind of anything at the top. I like to grab something kind of further down. So maybe this image. So let everything load in and then hit them with the pop-up, that kind of thing. So let's say on this image is load, we will set off a trigger. Okay. So we're, again, another interaction. We're just going to come here. We're going to say add an interaction. The trigger will be way at the bottom, content loaded. All right. And here we can delay it. So you might want to delay it, 5 seconds or 3 seconds. Let's delay it 2 seconds. And if you want it shorter, you can do like 0.5 for half a second. All right. And the action will be show element. The target will be a pop-up. And everything else is basically the same. We'll go ahead and save that. And now if I refresh this page, see, it actually refreshed on its own. So let's go ahead and refresh again. So we refresh, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, boom, there you go. That's how you get a delayed pop-up to come up. And again, if I click out here, it's going to go away. If I click this close, it's going to go away. I can make it come back. There you go. So hopefully this helped. And if you haven't already, join Brick School. Links are in the description along with all my other sites. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Bye now.